Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Today I have Stephen Cohn on the line, and Stephen is a father, husband first, and a serial entrepreneur as well. So Stephen is the founder of Validately, which was acquired by UserZoom, and I believe that's how we got connected originally. I think I was trying to get Validately installed in a company I was working at, and you've been very gracious to accept this request to talk. So you also have a new product coming out, Impact product.
That's right.
Which I just installed on my personal site. Really simple, easy to use, looking great so far. So we'll definitely get into that. Could you just give us a little background into who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah. So as you said, my personal motto is I try hard to be a great father, husband, and entrepreneur. That's my pecking order. So I'm a 4-time entrepreneur, business-wise. My last company was a user research UX testing platform called Validately, where I started it from, just myself and a couple of developers, and then my co-founder, Mark Bathy, joined shortly after we got started. And, very scrappy, product-focused founder. I've, just have a process that I follow. I focus on building products, trying to understand customer needs, and I keep doing it because I love it. It's my favorite part of business, is just building products that customers love.
Oh, that's fantastic. And was this always the kind of dream from the beginning, or is this something you stumbled into?
Yeah, great question. Actually, my grandfather was a great entrepreneur. And my father was a longtime entrepreneur as well, had some successes as well. And so growing up, I really always had the perspective of a business owner and an entrepreneur. Neither of them were in technology, but still kind of the same kind of concept of trying to build a business around a great product, bringing it to market, finding customers, all that stuff. So we used to talk about it when I was younger. And I always thought it was, an awesome thing. And so I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, be a business owner at some point. Yeah. And, but early in my career, I did some other jobs just to basically learn some basic skills, the important skills that I thought would be helpful for me as a founder one day. Okay. And then in 2006, I finally took the plunge, my first startup.
Oh, fantastic. And what do you think those skills were? What are the most important skills you think to being a founder?
Well, so there's soft skills and hard skills. I think the soft skills are probably the most important. I think my perspective, look, there's not one answer to this. This is my perspective, what I believe based on my experience, what I think works. So first of all, I have a saying when it comes to startups, which is every problem your startup has, every question your startup has, the answer is product, right? So whatever it is, if you're not growing fast enough, it's product. If your cost of user acquisition is too high, it's product. It's not marketing. If your sales cycle is too long or conversion rate is too low, it's product. If your churn rate is too high, it's product, et cetera. So I believe deeply that the core of successful technology startups, probably extends beyond technology, comes back to product. And really understanding product culture, what product culture means, what a product-focused organization means, and prioritizing that. Understanding that, I think discipline is extremely important. Focus is extremely important. I am relentlessly focused. Ruthless focus is the phrase I use. To the point where even if you have a really good idea, if it's off topic, I'll cut it off. I'll just cut it off and say, great idea, not where we're going. Let's park that for later. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but I don't want to chase this shiny object over here. I want to stay focused on solving this problem. So focus, And one of the kind of biggest lessons that I've learned, and it kind of dawned on me in my early days of Validately when we were struggling, was I used to think when I was an early founder that it was all on me, that I had to come up with the answer. I had to come up with the right thing for marketing, or the right thing for product, or the right thing for sales, or the right answer for all this stuff. And the thing that I kind of learned, and it became a magical, kind of learning moment for me, was actually my job as a founder is not to always come up with the right answer. It's to create a culture and environment where the people feel, my team feels connected to what we're doing, knowledgeable about what we're doing, knowledgeable about where the business is and what we're trying to do with the business, and empowered to try to, solve the business problems, on themselves without the founder giving them the answer. And so once I realized that, I basically have built my teams and my culture with my product around that kind of philosophy of empowering teams to solve problems and to know the outcomes of their problems, of their efforts, good or bad, and have this kind of learning experimentation culture. And that was the biggest thing that I kind of learned, and has helped me be a multiple time founder.
Okay, love that. And I did see that you had gone to Harvard as well, the business school, right? MBA?
Harvard Business School. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like going into being a founder, did that help, or did you learn a lot more just, starting these companies?
So it's a great question, and it's a hot topic. Everyone has an opinion on business school, whether you need business school or not. I can tell you for me personally, everyone's different. Mm-hmm. I loved going to Harvard Business School. I think I learned a ton. I think I built great connections that have helped me throughout business and be more successful. I learned a lot about product strategy and corporate strategy are lessons that I've applied in all my businesses and my foundational thinking about starting a company. From my perspective, for me personally, it was a home run experience, but it's not for everyone. And there's no one path to success. There's many different paths to success. Mm-hmm. So for other people, it might not be. There might be other people who say, I went to the school and it wasn't really helpful. For me personally, I had a great experience and it's helped me.
Fantastic. Okay. And I often wonder if, maybe I need to go back. And I think a lot of people out there wonder the same thing, whether they should just, march forward with their idea or, first go get some schooling. So I appreciate that. And getting back to, you had mentioned the focus, kind of knowing when to move forward with an idea or when to put it on the back burner. How do you validate between or determine whether it's a great idea that, could possibly be successful, or whether or not it's just another idea? What's the kind of process you take for that? Yeah.
It's a great question. So whenever I start a company, the thing that I focus on, and a guy named Dan Olson wrote, spoke a lot and has written, books on this. I think his book was The Lean Product Playbook. And he has a phrase that I steal a lot, which is that there's the problem space and the solution space. And I think one of the biggest mistakes first-time founders make, and it's usually first-time founders because they learn this the hard way and then you don't make this mistake again, is they jump right into the solution space. They think about a problem and they don't fully understand it, and they jump right into like this beautifully designed solution. And they spend a whole lot of time building this really beautiful thing that no one needs. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. And all their friends say it's awesome, but then no customers actually use it. And the reason why that is because they didn't fully understand the problem space. And so when I start a company, what I try to do is deeply understand the problem space. I spend a ton of time on that. And it's the same thing when I'm not just when I'm launching new products within my prior company, Validately, for example, or my new company. So whether it's new features or new companies, it doesn't matter. It's the same approach. I do a tremendous amount of user research to try to understand the problem space and why this problem exists, how important it is to solve, and why do the current products in the market not solve these needs. And in some cases, they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know about this product. This actually looks like it does solve my need." And then they'll say, "Okay, well, maybe there's not an opportunity here." But in a lot of cases, when you'll talk to them and they'll say, "Yeah, we've tried that product. It didn't work for us. We tried this other product. It didn't work for us." Great. Why not? Tell me why not. Why is this not working? What is blocking you? And if you do that enough, you'll find, you'll really deeply understand the problem space. And then once you get that, once you really think you understand, then the process is, a series of prototyping and prototype testing. For validation, I say there's 3 levels of validation that I apply to understanding if I'm working on an important problem and if the solution that we're working on is going in the right direction. The first level is your time commitment. So I will have a hypothesis of who my customer is. I reach out to those personas on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has great kind of targeting. And I send them a very basic message. "Hi, I'm Stephen Cohn. I'm a multiple time founder. I'm starting a new company to solve this problem. I'd love to talk to you about it if you're interested." And what I have found with that basic message is, especially I do it through LinkedIn because then they can see like I'm not some spammer, like I'm like a real person that went to Harvard Business School, like a legit human, and not just some spam farm. And I'm a multiple time entrepreneur, and they can see that I have some credibility there, and they're like, actually, this is a problem. And so the first thing I want to know is like, is this a problem significant enough from who I think is my target customer that they're willing to spend 30 minutes of their time talking about the current problem, right? And I have found that process to be very successful. The next level is if they say, yes, there's a problem, and then I could show them a prototype. The next level is, so time, then there's social, I call social. So social proof is getting that person taking the next steps, whether if it's a B2B product, internally taking the next steps, if it's a consumer product, potentially other friends, but to get that software installed, to get that software employed within your product, within your company, okay? So to do that, you got to put your credibility on the line. You got to go to legal to get approval for it. You got to go to your boss to get budget for it, or whatever it is, right? No, if they answer my LinkedIn cold outreach and they take a meeting with me, and then they see a demo of a solution, even if it's a prototype, and if it seems like it's moving in that right direction where they feel like there's value creation for a true problem, that customers will absolutely, even with just a prototype, will take those next steps to be a beta partner for you, because the pain is so great that this thing, if it works, if you could actually make the software to do what this prototype does, awesome, home run. Like it really solves a problem. Yeah. The third level is budget. So I ask them for your time, I ask you for your social proof, and then I ask you for budget. Can you commit to spending money on, this is the price point. When we go live, you'll have a trial period. After that trial period, this is the price. Can you commit to paying these price depending upon delivery and a successful pilot? And I think one of the mistakes entrepreneurs make is they don't talk about price, they don't talk about budgets early enough. So I think you want to talk about that up front. You want to understand, is this a $1,000 a month problem? Mm-hmm. $100 a month problem? A $10,000 a month problem? Like, how big is this problem for you? And that's important because that determines your go-to-market strategy, that determines your scalability, capital raising, all that stuff. So those are the 3 levels I start. I dig deep on the problem space, understand it. I ask for people's time, then I ask for their social proof, and then I ask for budget. And I do all that even with early stage prototypes or very basic, very basic kind of alpha version of a product.
Okay, fantastic. And so you mentioned something really interesting, which I haven't seen many people do, and that's the budget aspect. How do you go about coming up with a range of where you'd even price a product like this, like when it's just prototype stage? Is it just trial and error, or?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love the conversation of pricing. From my perspective, pricing is probably the topic that the one thing in business that is the easiest thing to change and has the biggest impact on your business metrics. Like, it's just amazing because there's like no developer support needed, right? You just change a number on the website, right? It's super easy. If you have Stripe, you can just change it in the UI. So, okay, so how do you figure out pricing? So first of all, you can start with looking at competing solutions and where they are. You want to understand pricing, but there's a great blog on pricing called Price Intelligently. And I think they actually just rebranded a little bit, but it used to be Price Intelligently. And they talk a lot about a thing called a value metric. So a value metric is a usage metric that as the customers increase the customer's value increases. Okay. So let me give you I think the quintessential example. MailChimp prices based on the size of your email list, not on sends, not on user seats. I mean, I think on later plans, they might have user seats, but the bulk of their pricing is on the size of your email list. The bigger your email list, the higher price point. And there's a slider on their pricing page. So if your email list is 10,000, 15, 20,000, 100,000, whatever. That's a value metric. And what's great about that is every company every customer that MailChimp has at least one, if not multiple people focused on how do they grow their fees to MailChimp. I mean, they don't even know that's not really what they're focused on. They're focused on growing their email list. But ultimately, what they're really doing is by growing their email list, they're growing their fees. And MailChimp has so aligned their price to customer value that customers don't care that they're paying more because they believe they're getting more value. Now they're not pricing based on sends. So you could send as much as you could send every single day, you could send an email, or you could send one email every 3 months. If your list is 10,000 people, it's the same price, right? So MailChimp says, I'm not trying to stop you from using my product. I want you to use it as much as possible. No price, as much as you want. But your value metric is total size of your email list, and I'm going to price based on that. And so if you price based on a value metric where the customer increases value for every time, as the customer increases value, their price goes up, then that makes a lot of sense. And another classic example is like Dropbox, right? The more storage, the more you pay. Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Okay, perfect. So let's go, I guess, maybe through or for example, to get a sense of your process. So how would you mentor somebody like me? So I have, say, a product idea. It's, again, in the UX space, and it's kind of focused around helping designers, product teams decide what kind of design thinking workshop to run, depending on, which part of the, product lifecycle they're in. And very simple tool. I have some money saved to do this. I do have a full-time job, but I have an understanding wife who's going to let me, work early mornings and late nights and some weekends. What would your process be for, I guess, starting this and hopefully scaling it?
It's a great question. And the first thing that's great is that you're asking this before you've kind of gotten too far, because oftentimes I do a lot of mentoring for entrepreneurs, and oftentimes they come to me after the thing's already built and they're like, well, no one's using it. How can you help me? And I'm like, wow, I'm not a magician. You know what I mean? Like I have a process, but it's not, it's not magic. So the process I would do is exactly as I said before. Create a list of who you think your persona is, who your buyer is. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. Hi, introduce, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. I'm building software to solve this problem. I have a lot of experience in this space. I'd love to talk to you about how you guys do it and if this is a problem for you. You will be pleasantly surprised and happy with if people think that's a problem, they will absolutely respond and say, sure, I'd love to chat about it. If no one responds, then either you pick the wrong persona. You keep experimenting with different personas. And again, LinkedIn has this tool called Sales Navigator, which for like $50 a month, you have a whole lot of filtering on. You can do company size, you can do geography, you can do, job title, you can do all kinds of filtering, and then you can just send them a message. Not long, very short. Here's my name. Here's the problem I'm solving. Do you have some time to chat? If you actually get a problem that they have, they will respond and set up meetings. Take those meetings, take those user interviews, understand how they do this now. What are the pains they have? What are the things they hate? What are the things that they love about their process? Do they use any tools? What do they like about those tools? What do they hate about those tools? Really, really, really understand the problem space and why the problem exists across across many different users. Don't be in a rush to jump right into a software product, a solution. Okay. For my current company, Impact Product, my new one, I did over 300 customer interviews, 300 user interviews over like a 6-9 month period. And it's all the same process. But what I was looking for is I've spoken to, Impact Products and analytics tool built for design teams. What I found is that design teams basically almost never use the company's analytical tools to understand what's going on within a company. And it doesn't matter whether that company has Mixpanel or Heap or Amplitude or Looker or Tableau or Google Analytics or Pendo or whatever it is. Design teams will never log in and use that. So they don't understand. Most of them can't answer, the thing that you worked 6 weeks on designing and testing and all that stuff. Are people using it? Are they getting stuck somewhere in the flow? Like, are they falling off? Like, what's going on, right? What percentage are you using it? The people who use it, are they reusing it more than once? Is it like one time and then they leave it alone, they abandon it? Those basic questions, which every analytical tool out there can answer, never get used by design teams to answer those questions, because why? Why is that? And, so I reached out to a whole bunch of design teams and said, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. And I've had phenomenal response rates from people. Now, part of it is also, hey, I love Validately. If you're making something new, I'd love to talk to you because I know you make a good product. But also part of it is, yes, this is a problem. Like understanding the impact of design, getting basic access to analytics is a very important part of understanding outcomes for design teams. And so when I did my interviews and I spoke to companies that have Mixpanel and Amplitude and Heap and Looker and Tableau and Google Analytics and Pendo and all those products, I heard the same two problems there over and over again. Requirement for developer support to instrument every little button or thing that I want to get, that's a bottleneck for design teams. They don't have access to developers in most cases. They have to go through product, they have to wait in line, et cetera. By the time they get the thing tagged up, then they have to wait for the data to run. They might be moved on. It's too late. And the second is just the complexity of the user experience for those analytical tools creates a lot of friction for design teams. And so because those tools are not designed for design teams, they're designed for data scientists, quant, analytically trained people who are trained in analytics. And very few designers are trained on analytics and quant. And most of their training is in qual, and that's kind of their empathy driven, and understanding the user and all that type of stuff. And so qual research is awesome. Believe me, I love qual research, and I sold Validately to UserZoom, which is a great product. And if you want qual research, that's the right product for you. Quant, for analytics, for measuring what's going on in the product. There just has never been a tool designed for understanding the designer and what they need. And so that's what we're doing. So and I uncovered that from consistent messages, hearing back from my user interviews. And then we did some prototype testing. We go back to them and say, here's an idea of what we had. Then we could put like an MVP, very, I know that's a word that is hotly contested. I don't mean to scratch that itch, but we put a very kind of low friction, very basic product out there, and, have some customers test it out and try it. And the feedback's been good. And then we worked on a new version, which we just released last week, a 2.0 version, which better design, more features, all that stuff. And now we're continuing to kind of go out and talk to teams and get them to try it out and learn feedback, what's missing, what's confusing, what's, confusing about the user experience, and going from there.
Fantastic. And so obviously you had this idea. You went out, you talked to 300 people, which is a lot. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And now it comes time to build. How do you go about, I guess, bringing in the right technology talent or the right type of people, tech stack, in order to kind of, surround yourself and set yourself up for success?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So again, I have an opinion. I'm not saying my way is the only way, right? I'm not saying there aren't other successful approaches. I have an opinion, and my opinion is big teams build big products, not necessarily better products. And so when you have a small team, you're forced to prioritize. And my view is that specifically with B2B products, okay? But it probably extends to consumer products as well. My view is that there's one dominant, powerful use case for every successful product. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff built around it. But that one early product market fit comes down to like kind of one just powerful, awesome use case. And from that, you raise capital, you build this whole big team, you build this whole stuff. And look at, I always say, look at Twitter. Twitter's MVP was like a basic, like, it was a text message on the internet, basically. That's what it was, 140 characters, very basic thing. Twitter has probably spent billions, tens of billions of dollars over maybe more, maybe hundreds of it over the their course of their life. And at the end of the day, it all comes back to the tweet, right? I mean, all this stuff is just all around the tweet. Now, I'm not including the monetization piece for the ad business or whatever, but the core value prop of Twitter is the tweet, which was in the MVP. And it's the same thing for B2B products. So it's that one thing. And if you understand what that is, you don't need a huge, massive engineering team. Okay. The other thing that I focus on with my companies is I don't believe in like story points and velocity and all that stuff. Okay. It's not about building more stuff. It's not a race to see who can code more, right? It's understanding the stuff that we're building. Are people using it? And if they're not, why are they not? Because it's based on user research. We talk to them. They said they need this. We build it for them. And they're not using it. Why not? I don't want to just say, well, we checked it off the roadmap, so let's build the next thing on the roadmap, right? It's just trying to stay on that thing and try to understand, how do we get people doing it? With Validately, when I started Validately, which was it's a qual user research tool, user testing was already pre-established, but user testing at that time was only unmoderated and only on their panel. And when I talked to research teams and design teams, the problem with that is sometimes you want to talk to your own users and sometimes you want to do moderated. And so and so, they didn't have, back then they were using, to find out, to talk to your own users, it was pain. You had to try to get an email list from marketing, which is always hard, or whatever it is. Or you would put an ad up on Craigslist, right? Which was a pain. And then you would use Skype was like the main tool at the time. This was before Google Hangouts or whatever was popular, and Zoom. And the problem that they had was they couldn't, it was after they did the interviews, when they had to download the videos and create little highlight clips and annotated notes and all that stuff. That's where all the pain was. So it wasn't in the generic just screen sharing. The pain that these researchers had when I started Validately was, after it was done, how do I turn all that I just did, my 6 user interviews, into something that I can explain to my team? Here's the key points, right? You're not going to watch 6 hours or 3 hours of interviews. I already did that. I need to synthesize this for you. And so the kind of the big powerful thing that basically from these two, there was 2 features with Validately that I was sure all these other tools were going to copy, but they never did. The 2 features we had is we made it super simple. So we had moderated technology, which was good technology, but no different than any other video conferencing tool. But the 2 features that we had that research teams loved: easy video clips. So literally just click, little scrubber, create the clip, and annotated notes. Married that with an easy way to do it if you have your own list or our own panel. A panel, which was, a panel of companies are a commodity. And so that use case was, we built a successful business off of just that use case. And so coming back to your question on engineering teams, I don't think you need a big engineering team. I think if you have one great back-end person and one great front-end dev, and a great designer, and a product-focused, go-to-market focused founder, you can build an awesome company from there. I think that's really a core founding team: a great designer, a great back-end engineer, a great front-end engineer, and a product-focused, go-to-market focused, either founder or co-founder type of person. And and that's it. And so it forces prioritization.
Gotcha. That's an extremely lean team. I like the sounds of that. I've been working at, very large organizations, so that sounds exciting. And you have some pretty great advisors on your team, it sounds like, for impact product. Jeff Gothelf, writer of a number of the kind of industry standard books. How did those relationships come about?
Yeah, so Jeff Gothelf and Josh Seiden and Becky Buck also are advisors. Jeff was an advisor to Validately as well. Okay. And I actually met him at, what was that conference in Austin, the tech conference?
Oh, South by Southwest?
South by, yeah. So actually I went to a when I was starting Validately, he was given a presentation at South by. I went up to him afterwards and I introduced myself and I said, I'm working on this problem, almost like I do in LinkedIn. I'm working on this problem. I'd love to talk to you about it. And he said, that sounds interesting. And here's my email, shoot me an email. And from there, I talked to him. I showed him a demo. I said, I want you on my advisory board. I want to give you equity in my company. He said, sounds good. And we had a great working relationship. His partner through many of his books is Josh Seiden, who's written a number of books, including Lean UX with co-authored Lean UX. He also wrote Outcomes Not Outputs, or Outcomes Over Outputs, which is a great book. And I highly recommend that. It's a short book. I actually got it on audio. I got the book on tape. And I put it on 1.5 speed and I walk around my neighborhood and I finished it in 2 walks. But it's a powerful book. It's a great book. And so they're natural fits. Becky is awesome. She was one of my first customers at Validately from a big company. She was at Salesforce at the time, and she's just she loves products, she loves design, she loves founders, and just a great person to talk to. And so she's been working with us on the design and the products and stuff like that. And so I think that the thing I've learned about advisors the reality is most of the time, advisors add very little to any value for a startup. It really comes down to how you structure the advisory relationship. If you just want a headshot to put on your website, it's really not worth much to the startup. Gotcha. You're not going to get much value out of just a headshot of an advisor on your website. It adds a little bit of credibility, but at the end of the day, it's not why people make purchase decisions. So you have to ask your advisors to provide value, right? And what can they do to provide value? Well, either they have domain expertise but you have to get them to commit to it. So in the advisor agreements, you have to say, hey, you got to meet with me X number of times a month, a quarter, a year, whatever it is, right? That's the agreement that you're agreeing to. Have that conversation up front with your advisors and put it in writing. So they have to sign in writing that this is what they're agreeing to from a commitment perspective. Social, obviously, a lot of them have a lot of followers in your area, right? Take their commitment to share your social posts into their community, right? And so it's better to have fewer advisors, but ones that are deeply committed to your success, and that you have a structured advisory relationship to that they're going to actually provide value, as opposed to just be a headshot on a team page. There's not much value in that.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate that. That's fantastic. So when you set out to build a product like this, you're 3 for 3 for creating a product and then being acquired, which is amazing. Do you go into it with the intention of building it to sell, or is that just a happy byproduct of building a successful tool?
Great question. So I think one of my kind of sayings is founders should be thinking about entrances, not exits. So founders should only be thinking about how to enter a market. What I found for sure, definitively, without any doubt, and by the way, early in my career, I was in M&A. For the first 3 years of my career, I was in investment banking in an M&A role at DoubleClick. And the thing I found for sure is if you build a great product that customers love, and you have a efficient go-to-market strategy that is able to acquire customers and grow, and your business can grow, exits will happen very successfully. You'll get plenty of opportunities. What will happen is your competitors will know. They'll be like, damn, these guys again? First they'll ignore you. Then they'll just brush you off as like an ankle biter or whatever it is. Then they'll start taking you seriously once you flip one of their bigger clients, or you start getting another big deal or two, and the salesperson goes back to their manager and say, we lost these guys again, and they're killing us. And then what ends up happening is, if you steal a big customer or two and they miss their quarter or whatever, and then they start poking around, and you got to make a decision early on. Actually, one of my professors at Harvard Business School has a question. He said, "Do you want to be rich or do you want to be king?" Meaning, do you want to be? Elon Musk wants to be king. He wants to literally be the head of he wants to lead an electric vehicle revolution, right? He wants to kill fossil fuels, and he is completely mission driven. Is that your goal, or do you want to be successful financially? from my perspective, it's also, look, when I ran Validately, so I started Validately, I didn't take a salary for 2 years.
Wow.
And when I started taking a salary, it was way under my expenses. I was burning cash for 7 straight years. Okay. I had almost all of my net worth tied up into Validately. And I also wrote big checks into Validately to keep it alive in the early years when it was running on fumes and we were, struggling to get product market fit.
Yeah.
So I believe that if I had not sold Validately in 2019, it'd be worth significantly more now. I didn't know anything about the pandemic, obviously, because it was 2019, but my understanding is the business Validately was perfectly positioned to do extremely well during the pandemic because it's remote tool. It's a remote tool.
Makes sense.
It was a low cost remote tool, and that was our kind of go to market. And so we would have probably continued to grow very fast and would have been worth more. That said, I have no regrets for selling it. And at the time, it was the right exit for the team and for myself personally, because I had invested heavily in it. Now that I'm, was able to have that exit for my new company, probably let it ride, longer and see where we go, exits are, it's a personal decision. And, the thing is like, everyone likes to think about like, oh, the founder made all this money in this exit. Well, yeah. How about like 8 years ago when they were like, living on ramen noodles and taking out credit cards and not sleeping because they had no money. Where was everyone else back then, And so, you gotta be, but if you build a great product, to me, again, it all comes back to the product from my point of view. If you build a great product that customers love, that solves a real need, all the other stuff will take care of itself.
And just one more question with that is, how did you keep going through, those 7 years where you were, as you said, eating ramen and, having sleepless nights?
So I have a philosophy that there are 2 types of successful founders, only 2. Mm-hmm. There's the Steve Jobs type, the Elon Musk type, the true visionaries, like just true visionary, rare human beings. They're quirky, they're odd, they probably drop out of school because they're too smart for everyone, and they end up just completely revolutionizing the world. I'm not that person. It's just not me. I'm not I'm not that type of founder. The second type of successful founder is Rocky Balboa. Okay. The fighter who is talented but not crazy talented, but his greatest talent, as the character's greatest talent, is that he just won't go down. He just won't give up. Like, it's always one more round. And no matter what happens, he's going to take a beating from the Russian, the big Russian or Mr. T or whoever the character is that's going to beat him up. But he's always there in the last round when the bell rings and saying one more round. And that is what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur, because you are going to get so much rejection and so many failures and so many people saying this is a dumb idea, it's never going to work, you're going to fail, you're not going to be successful. And fundamentally, you have to determine whether your customers are saying that or others are saying that. And you just have to find a way to survive in advance, and just every day I used to say, did I make progress today?
Yeah.
That's it. I just need to make progress today. That's all I'm trying to do, is make progress today. And then tomorrow, I'm trying to make progress tomorrow, right? Like every single day, just move the ball forward. And I would literally say that to myself out loud when I get home at night, I was exhausted. I'd say, did I make progress today? I say, yeah, actually, I closed this one deal and I moved this other opportunity forward. Okay, great. Successful day. Now go do it tomorrow. And, it's hard. It's really hard. I think the hardest part about being an entrepreneur is the financial stress it puts on your family. Most people don't talk about that, but it was, when I first started my first company, I had a newborn baby, and my wife had stopped working. She was a high risk pregnancy, and so she had to stop working. She was on bed rest, and then I had a newborn baby. I was taking basically no salary for several years, and burning all my savings, and it was really hard. It was very, very stressful, and I was more stressed about my own personal money than I was about success for the business. But I believed in it, and I just have the kind of Rocky Balboa mentality where I'm just literally, I'm just gonna keep getting up off the mat, and I'm gonna keep coming forward, and it doesn't matter how much you punch me in the face. Like I'm just gonna keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love that.
That's me. That's my
yeah. That's fantastic. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really can't thank you enough for all these insights and for your time. Could you tell us, what's next for you and Impact Product?
Yeah.
And
So my next thing is Impact Product. It's the kind of core it's a product analytics, user analytics tool. The core differentiation is that it's actually something that's so easy to use that literally everyone on the team can use it. And what I found in all my user research is that analytical tools are super, super, super powerful, but only a few people within an organization actually use those products. And so there's a lot of people who need to know what's going on in the products with our customers, with our users, who best case scenario can ask someone else to run a report. In most cases, in some cases, they don't have anything. And in some cases, they can ask someone else to run a report. And the reason why these other products don't get used or implemented is because they're basically designed and created with the persona of the analytical guru in mind. That's who they're building for. They're building for this analytical guru who needs everything. They need switches and filters and all these type of ways to slice and dice and find the needle in the haystack. And that's awesome. I'm not dismissing that at all. That's a super powerful, super valuable use case. But there's a lot of people who look at those user experiences and say, man, I have no idea how to use this product. And all I want to do is answer this basic question. How do I answer this basic question? Are people using this thing? How frequently are they using it? Are they using it more than once after they use it, right? Are they getting stuck somewhere in the process? That's all I want to know. And I don't want all this stuff. And so the two big bottlenecks are developer support for instrumentation of all the buttons and links and all that stuff, and the user experience of these dashboard query building heavy analytical tools. And so what we've done with Impact Product is we said, let's kill both of those. So the way it works is it's a line of JavaScript that you add to your site header, and we track every click event that happens. There's no configuration needed. There's no developer support needed. If you have Google Tag Manager, you can even put it live without a developer. If you don't, it's a 5-minute deploy for a developer. Literally, JavaScript into the site header. There's no PII captured with the JavaScript, so from a privacy perspective, and there's no impact on page load. But the beauty of that is that everything is tracked at all times. There's no developer support needed. And the second big thing we did is we said no analytical tool dashboard. So the way our product works is it's an Chrome extension. So you open up your own product, you find the thing that you want to get information on, you open up our Chrome extension, you click on the button or link in your own product, and we give you metrics there. We're using the HEART framework from Google, so happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success. And then we have metrics underneath that. So we can tell you for any button or user flow, if you want to create a user flow, you just go click, click, click. These are the 3 steps of the user flow. Or maybe there's a couple of steps in between, whatever. We'll give you key task success metrics, number of uniques going through it, conversion rates, time on task, time in between each step, okay? And what's great about that is that if you find a usability problem, then you can do your user research on it. You can run your qual research. So it really goes hand in hand and empowers your qual research testing that you can do. But it's so simple. Everyone can use it because all you do is you just open up your product, you click on a button, and you get the metrics right there. Adoption rates, reuse rates, and task success. And so the next piece is we are going to add what we call an identify feature, where then you, if you want, that's your choice as a customer, you can then pass customer information to us. Okay. So then what we could say is, not only did this is the fall off from the user flow. Mm-hmm. And by the way, between step 3 and step 4, you had like 30% fall off, and it took on average 2 minutes and 55 seconds between step 2 and step 3, or 3 and 4. Yep. But you could download a list of the users who did that. Okay. And so now you could say, all right, great, let me flip this over to our UX research team, and they could reach out to them and do their usability testing with a Validately or UserZoom Go, mm-hmm. And learn, and then fix it. And what we're trying to do is speed up that time, because half the teams I spoke to don't have any analytics. The other half have to basically send an email or a Slack message to a product manager, who will then configure that solution. Then they have to wait for the data to populate. And it's what I hear is anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks before they finally get a report on that feature, right? Yeah. And that's just wasted time. So what we can literally do is we can kill that, and that whole back and forth. The designer can just open up the product, open up our extension, click, see where the fall off is, yep. Download a list of users who failed to complete the user flow, reach out to them, do a usability test, fix the problem, and go from there. Yeah. And that's the vision. That's what we're trying to do.
That's great. And yeah, before this call, I installed it on my Squarespace site. It took all of seconds to put on, and it was working. It was fantastic. Yep. And I can relate to all those problems you mentioned, working at big companies, trying to get the information that you need, and also mentor students. And we do a course on analytics, and most of them get very scared when that part of the course comes up and don't want really anything to do with it, because it is just kind of makes them go a little fuzzy when they're looking at all the different things you can do in Google Analytics. So it's fantastic. Where can people go to get in touch with you? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I was just going to add something to that last thing you said was, when I did all my user interviews, if I'm being very candid, okay, and I really don't want this taken the wrong way, because I deeply believe every human being has strengths and weaknesses, or areas where they're strong in, and areas where they need developmental in, and that's not a good or bad. It just is. It's just human beings. That's how humans work. Not everyone's great at everything. Some people are great at this, and some people are great at that. One of the things I found over and over and over, once I peel back the layers of the onion and I kind of usually happen like at the 25th minute of my user interview, like right towards the end. Yeah. People would tell me that they feel intimidated by these tools. They feel frustrated. They feel like almost embarrassed, like, am I supposed to know how to interpret this thing? Because I don't know how to interpret this, but I want to pretend like I do in front of my teammates, because I don't want to look like an idiot. But the reality is I have no idea. And so, because they're designed for someone else. They have jargon, they have terms that people don't understand what they are. They're structured in a way that if you're not trained in analytics, you look at these things and you're like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what this means. Yeah. And so we're designing for that persona. And so like one of the things that we did in our design and our product is you create a user flow. Not only do we have a chart for you, but we have a natural language sentence that tells you what is going on in that chart in like human speak. Yeah. And so you don't actually have to interpret it, because we've interpreted it for you and just telling you, and you can literally copy and paste that into Slack and say, here's what's going on in this flow. Right. And so understanding the psychology of how your target customers feel when they try the other products that are in market is very important. And that creates an opportunity for you. To get in touch with me, Steven@impactproduct.com, or you can just go to impactproduct.com and there's a contact button. You can do that. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Stephen Cohn, Cohn. Love to chat.
Cool. Honestly, again, I can't thank you enough for taking all this time. I really appreciate it. And I hope you had fun doing this. So
awesome. I did. I love talking product and startups, and I hopefully my passion for this topic, came out, and because I have a tremendous amount of passion for this topic and building products and design. I've been building technology products for the UX industry for, almost a decade now.
Yeah.
I said that to someone the other day. I was like, holy cow, it has almost been wow. I love it. It's a great industry. And the people in the design industry are just terrific. And I found I believe they're the best customers because they're so willing to give feedback.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Now obviously they have some opinions on design, stuff that is you say, thank you very much, but that's not really what I'm asking here. I'm trying to get into the core piece. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate exactly. I appreciate your opinion on the font. But really what I'm trying to get at is the actual thing. But in general, I found them to be the designers, design researchers, to be just a great customer segment to build products for, and very helpful and positive and supportive and great for user research and usability testing.
Fantastic. This was wonderful. And your passion and your focus absolutely comes through, loud and clear. So really appreciate it. Great.